Good morning. I'm going to take a look at a new little project that I started with my flax. More of an experiment. So I don't have my flax break finished yet, but I would like to have something a little bit better than a flax break and a little bit more mechanical, modernish than a flax break. So I was checking a few things out, looking at things. And last year, I picked up a device called an oat grinder. Not a grinder, but it kind of squishes oats in between two rollers. One roller is a geared roller. The other one is a free-floating roller. The free-floating rollers, both rollers are knurled. Not as heavily as I'd like, but yeah, they work. That's what they're designed for. They also have an eccentric on the bearing, so you can adjust the opening between the two rollers. And so I had to do some modification to get it to close a little bit more than what it was. It's still not the best modification, but it does work. And I just wanted to show a possible alternative to a regular flax break. This is a small device, so it does take some extra time. It is manual, again, like the flax break, but it's okay. The reason it's okay is because the quality of the flax is really nice. I actually like it better than when it comes off a break. A break kind of abrades the fiber and makes them kind of fuzzy, a little bit more so. Now, scutching does the same thing, but this is actually not too bad. I've already spun some up that I've done, and so this process does work. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera around and aim it down here so you can kind of see how it works, and then we'll kind of go through the process. Okay, so here is our little grain crusher that I've adapted to fix the eccentrics to help get these a little bit closer together because they weren't very close. This was designed for crushing grain, not for crushing thin stalks of flax. So what we want to do, instead of using a big break, we're going to use this little guy to crush the stalks. They're already dry. They've already been retted. So we want to crush the stalk in order to break the chaff away and the inner core away, because that's where the fibers are on the bark, so we want to break the inner core away from the bark. So we're just going to put this in. And roll it. And a slight bend instead of just going straight down creates a breaking action. And then the fibers are broken. And then once you break it, kind of work it between your fingers a little bit at a time like this with gloves on, because these little bits here are real bad splinters, so respect them. So it's an interesting device. Instead of a break, we're going to use that. So here you have fiber. That's just as good as coming off of the old fashioned brake with a lot of chaff still left into it, and that's what the scutching is for. So it was an interesting thing to find this, to see if I can use a more modern way to brake. My fibers apart. And I can't. Can actually get bigger bits than this, but you can go a little bit, you can go a lot of bit. And after scutching and combing, we get some really nice fibers. We could go a little bit more. So rather than just a big bundle, you kind of lay them out flat. If you want, you can break those tips off. We just kind of lay everything flat. That way it's not all balled up, and you can hear and see that it's actually breaking as it's rolling around. And the flower end there, it's pretty much useless anyway. And then again, you just kind of work it to help knock some of that stuff out of there before you do your scutching. Just get it off. So you can use the little device here to get some good fiber at a reasonable pace. It's not like the big brake, because in the big brake you can handle a whole lot more fiber all at once, but you really have to beat it up. And this doesn't beat it up. This just rolls it. And it was just an idea that I had. For the tool, I bought it to crush the flax seed heads for when we collect seed. Break those roots off again. Feed that in. And these rollers are free floating rollers. This one is. This one's geared on the handle. This one's free floater. And I was thinking maybe crushing the stock would basically do the same thing, because that's what a brake does. It just kind of crushes the stock, causes the inner core to just fall away, just like this. And I wanted to see if it would be a usable thing. And I found that it is. So get all my fibers the same length as much as possible. Bust those gnarly tips right off the end. Even it out. Feed the thick end through first. That's where all the good fiber's at anyway. And then back out. So in a larger format, we could have bigger rollers hooked onto a reduction geared motor, so it goes at low RPM, and then just feed it through. And because only one roller is a driven roller, you're very unlikely to have any danger in finger crushing. And doing it by hand, you definitely don't have that issue, which makes it a rather safe thing to do. Just feed this guy in, get your fiber loosened up, and then just kind of pull it out through the back side. So with an automated version, might have to do a little extra testing, but okay. So what I found at the hardware store are some paint sticks to stir your paint with. How convenient. How convenient of the length, and how convenient that they actually have a little handle on them. So with this stick, it's flat, it's narrow, it's got 2 sharp edges, actually 4 sharp edges. I don't need a single sharp edge because I've got 4 of them. Lightweight. If it breaks, it was $1 for 3 of them. So it even has a ruler on it. So how convenient. So now I've got all this stuff in here. So I just kind of draw down and scrape with one of the edges. Put a little force into it to help knock out the bits and pieces. Yes, and if you can see, there's some green, and that was green flax that never changed color. So now we've got a green stripe. So with my fiber, I always pull my fiber from the root end and not the tip end. It's just how I do it. This can help get some of the junk fiber out, and then we'll lose some when we comb it, but that is pretty much what we have. So now I have a really nice long piece of fiber. These are line fibers. So my scotch stick from here to the end of the scut stick is 14 inches. So I'm going to lose some of the top, but you know, so 14 plus, it's pretty good long line fibers, and this helps preserve the length. I do believe, because when I was doing it on the break, my fibers were not as long. In the end, they came out much shorter. So we will lose some, and it will shorten up a little bit. So let's go do that. I'll bring that comb over here and we'll comb it out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double comb this. So we're going to comb it with the big comb, and that just locks it into place. So I don't like combing large amounts like this all at once. So we're going to split this in two. You see I wrap it around my hand, that way it doesn't pull the long fibers out that I might not have a good grip on. And typically the tips tend to break apart, and that shortens things up considerably. And that's the tip is where all the flowers were at. In actual fact, we don't really need that part, but that's how they process these anyway. Okay, so there's good enough, and they're still good long fibers. So we'll take the next batch. Save our toe. Toe can be used for things. You pull good fibers out of the toe. It's just shorter. Just kind of drag it across the tips will help detangle stuff. And that's kind of junk. A couple good fibers in there, but nice little green stripe. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now we have these. And now I'm going to put the fine comb on. And with the fine comb, I will use the whole remaining part. So I set this up and designed this thing so I could mount it just like this. So tip end, and tail end. Where is it? Yeah. So anyway, so kind of drag it across the top. By dragging it across the top, instead of just down through it, it helps pick up some little flyaways. That we don't really want. And then we start working it down and pulling it down into the nails to just comb it, straighten it out. This also pulls off a lot of the last little remaining bits of stuff. So here again, you have some finished line. This is ready to go on the spinning wheel right here. Just straight onto the wheel and just pull from the bottom. And again, right here is 14 inches plus. So about right there. (22, 23 inches long. Nice fibers. And we use this device to break it with. So that's it. We'll put it up on the spinning wheel and we'll continue there a little bit later. Actually, I'm gonna run this thing through a little bit more here. I see some stuff that I want to pull out. See if I can. But even so, even with a couple little things still stuck, they usually come out in the twist when you're spinning it. You don't want to handle this stuff with stuff that, like calluses in the hand that are really rough, because it'll stick. So you can see I'm still pulling a little bit of fine stuff. There's a lot of fine stuff in here. The super fine stuff can be used for paper, can be used for all kinds of little things, from what I understand. So anyway, so that's even better. And just a comparison. So there is loss from short toe fiber to nice long fiber. And this can still be used. This is the best. This is second best. And that's it. We'll talk to y'all later.